briefly looking at clause 4.1, ISO 27001. Previously, we've looked at clause 4.1 relevant to ISO 9001. There's a comprehensive overview with Vincent and myself discussing the few criteria that's there. For 27001, it's just worth building on that just a little bit. The highlighted section in front of you is the clause we're looking at. I'll just remove that highlight to make it easier to read. Okay, so one of the things that needs to be considered at this stage is you're setting out the foundation for risk and where risk is to be drawn from. So we look at risk events, we look at trends in the market and so on. For 27001, we need to be very focused on information security. And the big thing that comes out of it really is the requirements under GDPR, because it's the legal requirement that affects everybody with regard to information security. And it's really the value to 27001 is that you're managing this to best practice levels. So what we need to look at here are applicable privacy regulations, legislation, the Data Protection Acts and so on, judicial decisions, because somebody's got to be keeping an eye on how the courts are treating other companies, particularly ones that are relevant to your own market. Organizational context, governance, for example, the types of policies that are dictated by shareholders. For example, you could be a not-for-profit organization where you have to report according to a constitution, and you might have particular demands on an organization from that source. Regulation doesn't just come from government, it can also come from the market itself. So if you're dealing with people in financial services, healthcare, criminal law, private security association licensed companies, they can be of note when it comes to understanding the context. I think particularly for software engineering firms, you are the guys who can make or break systems with regard to how security is thought of right from the very start. So it would be very important for anybody who is collecting data from organizations who have a particular burden of authorities from a regulator, like the Department of Health, Data Protection Commissioner, central banks, and so on. Those companies, you need to consider what regulation and legislation do they need to comply with, where elements of that regulation extends to us, the third-party provider, the processor. So just to summarize on that, it's very important when you're looking at contextual issues that might affect strategic direction. From an information and privacy security perspective, you must consider regulation and how it applies to you via your third parties. I think really any other area would be just to do with particular contractual arrangements. When you consider the relationships later on in clause 4.2, the requirements of customers in particular may dictate a certain number of issues which need to be risk assessed and need to be considered under clause 4.1. That's it for me. Phil Byrne, Enable ISO. Thank you.